Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Tilson Live. It is Tuesday. It is 2 o'clock. We are coming at you live on YouTube, live on Facebook, as we do each and every single week. So excited to talk about all things building on your land. I'm Eric Alarid with Tilson Homes, part of the fourth generation of the Tilson family, joined as I am each and every single week by the great, the marvelous, the wonderful, magnificent Dawn Dantzler, Vice President of Marketing and Customer Experience for Tilson Homes. Good afternoon, Dawn.
Hey, Eric. How's it going?
It's going awesome. It's spring is in the air. It's warming up again from our false spring, second, third winter. We're good. We're good.
It's almost time for summer.
It's almost. I think it's fully upon us. I think there's much of our viewing folk are going to be in the 90s today, most likely. So that is awesome. We are excited to be here as we are each and every single Tuesday at 2 o'clock, coming at you live on Facebook, on YouTube. Folks, jump into the chat. Tell us all the things we want to know about you. Tell us where you're watching from. Tell us where you're building. Tell us what part of the process you are in. We're very, very curious to know where you are in this journey of building a custom home on your land. So, and by the way, that's what we're here to talk about, is answer any questions you might have. Don will be specific about what we're going to talk about here in a second. But while we gear up for that, dude, jump into the chat. Tell us where you're watching from, where you're building, what part of the process that you are in. We want to hear from you. There are that's not true. There are stupid questions. Mm-hmm. There's only one dumb question, Don. What dumb question is that?
The one that you don't ask.
That is it. That is the only dumb question on this show. So ask truly anything you need to know about this. Don, while all folks put their chat in. So again, where you're watching from, where you're building, what part of the process you are in. Dawn, what are we covering today? What is going on?
So today is all about you guys. So we are here to answer all of your questions. So it is an Ask Us Anything about building on your land. So if you've got questions about design, if you've got questions about finance, you've got questions about permitting, you've got questions about, anything. How do I prep my land? What's culverts? What's tariff? Anything you want to talk about? I do recommend that you stay closer to building on your lot in the state of Texas. Our opinions get a lot less reliable the further you get from that topic.
Speak for yourself.
But yeah.
Jack of all trades, master of none. So we are excited to hear from you folks. Truly, this is my favorite show. Her favorite show is the customer home tours, which are awesome and adorable.
Yeah.
These are my favorite ones because I like playing Stump Eric. Let's play the game. There's a terrible challenge to issue to the internet, but we're gonna play the game anyway. But dude, truly drop into the chat where you're building, where you're watching from, what part of the process you are in, and truly ask us anything. It's a big journey when you're building on rural land. Even if you've built a home before, like in a subdivision, it is a very, very different process. So we can talk about all things site prep, which is really developing land. We're doing two things with our customers as partners. We are actually in the land development business and in the new home construction business. So we help you develop that land. We help you design the house. We help you secure the financing for it. We help you navigate through the permitting process, septic design, engineer foundation design, geotechnical investigation, sometimes development permits, sometimes entitlements through the city, working through title issues at title companies on your land. So these are all things that we're intimately familiar with. Mortgage companies, permanent loans, construction loans. We can talk about all those things. Yes, we can talk about how economic things are affecting the industry right now. You hear a lot of buzz in the news. We're going to talk about some of those things, but and you will get not only facts about those things, you'll also get opinions, which are super valuable, of course. But we guarantee in all cases that you will get what you pay for this show.
Absolutely.
And because it's very special. It's important to us to get what you pay for. So drop into the chat where you're watching from, where you're building, what part of the process you are in. Dawn, who is joining us so far?
All right. We have Giozia from Walker County, Texas, just north of Huntsville. Awesome.
Very cool.
We got Taylin. I'm in Brenham, want to build in Belleville on our land. Awesome.
Moving south, going on 36, heading out of here.
We got Alicia saying howdy from Germany. We're working with Danny on designing our Brazoria model and really enjoying the process so far. Awesome.
Very cool.
Thanks
That's awesome.
And Taylin is wondering, is it possible to shrink the Lone Star floor plan down to 2,000 to 2,500 square feet?
You're in the batter's box first, Dawn. What do we do in those situations?
So Technically, yes, it's possible. It's not going to be the most efficient way to do it. So honestly, what we suggest is if you're looking to go down that much in square footage, look for kind of identify what are the features that you really like in the Lone Star plan. Let's find you a smaller plan and add them because it's easier. It's just a more efficient way to go if we're making a smaller plan larger than making a large plan smaller, just because the square footage that we start removing starts affecting the roofing lines and the way things are laid out, your access to different things. So it gets a little dicey when we start trying to make things smaller. So it's easier to go bigger because we can preserve the roof lines on the exterior of the plan and things like that. So really, I would ask you, what are the features that you're looking for in the Lone Star? And then we can kind of figure out how to incorporate those into a smaller plan for you.
Agreed.
All right. Juzia said, just started planning, need help. Where do we start? Looking at plans is overwhelming. How much can plans be modified?
Almost anything, truly. I mean, there's some stuff that makes sense, Josia, but there's some stuff that just doesn't. And that is exactly what our consultants are going to do as they start walking through that process. They're going to make sure that you're not doing something to a house. I mean, if you start changing a house a tremendous amount, the chances are you got the wrong house. Maybe it's usually something that you like. Great advice is to find a floor plan that works for you. If you can, it's hard to do. If you can, ignore the elevations at first. I know that's tough, but figure out and searching through our website, do you need 3 bedrooms and a study? Do you need 4 bedrooms? Do you need 2 bedrooms and a study, or so 3 bedroom total? Do you need a formal dining room or not? Those are all things that are searchable on our website. And even then, the plans are modified. We have custom options for them past that. Find the floor plan. Do you want a split floor plan? Do you need the view out the front from the center? Do you need the view out the back? Do you want a kitchen with a window? Do you not? Narrow it down that way first, and then start worrying about the outside. A lot of people get caught up in, they love the way the outside of a certain home looks. Oh, that's the perfect craftsman style. Oh, that's the country wraparound porch style I like. And then they bring that in, and we say, okay, well, hey, I don't like where the master is. Utilities on the wrong side of the house. Family room needs to be like, well, you hate the plan. You like the way it looks, but you hate the plan. So the exterior of the home is the easiest part of the house to change. A lot of our exteriors can be put on almost any of our any of our floor plans, any of the elevations. So that's where my recommendation would be to start, so you don't get too overwhelmed. Is figure out how many actual spaces you need. Is it 2 bedrooms and a study? Is it 3 actual bedrooms and a study? Formal dining, no formal. Start there, and then kind of build the elevation around that. It'll be a little bit less overwhelming, and then let our sales consultants help you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we've got Denise saying howdy from Pearland.
Hey.
Building the Canyon D in Chapel Hill. Received HOA approval on Sunday. Now waiting to get released for construction. Still hoping
Hallelujah.
for Christmas move-in. That's awesome, Denise.
That is awesome. That's been a long time coming.
All right. And Taylin is sharing that her first appointment is this Saturday in Bryan. I
was like, Danny's going to be busy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's great.
And we've got Kim, hi from North Padre Island. Beginning stages for building the Arlington C in Milano to build a metal building carport, paying cash for, and tying into plumbing for water and septic. How does Tilson help?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we can actually, we need to know the size of the metal building that you're going to be doing, and approximately where on the property, well, not approximately, pretty well exactly where on the property that's going to be located, especially relative to the house. We don't mind coming out and actually helping you stake that for you if we can get onto the Milano is not known for its, thicket or anything. So there's a good chance we can get through there. Even if there's a tree or two in the way, we can still kind of help you do a preliminary layout of that. And we can shoot some of those grades to kind of help you. Okay, well, it looks like the septic would be located over here. If you're wanting both those buildings, both those structures to tie into that septic system in some way, we can help with that as well. And then we'd also, the water is a whole lot easier. It's a water line. It's under pressure, so it's not a big deal. Septic's the big one. We want to, if we want to be sure the septic system's located downhill from both of the structures, if possible. If not, we may have to have some type of a grinder pump. But we'd also, when it came time, and if you want to do that first, we can even help still do that. But a lot of times customers do it at the same time, or even do the metal building afterwards and do the tie-in. But we would make sure that the septic system was designed and permitted for not only the full function of the home itself, but of whatever you intend to put in that metal building. So, usually it's just like one bathroom and something like that. So it's not usually a huge deal, but it is something that needs to be accounted for when it comes to how many gallons per day and square footage of spray area that the septic system is going to need to leach that water, the wastewater out over time.
Okay. Awesome. All right, we've got Cindy saying building in Grayson County, heading
Oh,
to build site now to see how electrical and plumbing are coming along.
awesome. That's cool. That's fun.
And then we've got Rob, howdy from Germany. We've been watching several videos and excited to be moving forward with our build. We're working with Danny.
There we
Awesome.
go.
And Josa is asking, what does payment structure look like if we're not using financing? So what's a
Great.
cash buyer do?
Yeah. So if you're a cash buyer, it works in draws, so to speak. So you still do the $3,000 deposit up front. That doesn't change. And then what gets different is right when we're ready to start construction. So we've got our permits. You signed off on the plans. You're happy with your color selections, all that kind of stuff. Right when we're ready to start getting ready to release the file to construction, we take 35% of the contract amount down at that point. So we take a down payment, and then there are 4 more payments of 15%. So another 15% right after the slab is placed. So within a couple of weeks of the first one. And then another 15% when the house is dried in. So that's when the shingles are installed. Another 15% at the sheetrock stage. And then another 15% at the trim stage. So cabinets installed. And then the last 5%, we don't get the last 5% of the contract amount until you've done your walkthrough. We've completed any kind of punch out items and you're a happy camper and ready to actually go to the house is complete. It's completely finished. So it's 35, 15, 15, 15, 15, 5. It's 6 payments. And there is a cash discount, obviously. So you get a discount because effectively we're using your money to build the home instead of ours. So we give you a 2% discount on the base price of the home. And then also there are no closing costs involved like there would be on a loan transaction. So whatever the lender may charge for like origination fees or title companies would charge for a title policy, all of that prepaids, if the lender required an escrow accounts, those prepaids are typically part of that closing cost. So you don't have any, that usually makes up about 3% of the price of a home. So you would actually save that on top of the 2%. So
awesome. All right. Then we've got Lindsay saying howdy from Santa Fe, Texas. We just started our process with Kim in Angleton to build a Tampico.
Oh, beautiful.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
And then we've got Jason saying, howdy guys, plumbing installed and the foundation is scheduled to be poured on Thursday morning. I'll spare you all the details on how hard it is to pack up 33 years worth of life at 55 years old. Yeah, but it's going to be worth it when you're done.
It'll be worth it, yeah. But it is not for the faint of heart. You're right.
No, there's a lot of stuff to sort through. Then we've got Morgan saying, hey, building in Arlington in Colorado County. Just had our stakeout last Friday. Unfortunately, the current septic system does not have the correct slope. What's your opinion on grinder pump versus new septic? I'm not hearing good stories about grinder pumps.
Well, it's another mechanical device, right? So it's just like any other mechanical device. It can fail. They're not prone to do it necessarily, but it's doing exactly what the word describes. It's grinding up solids and then literally pumping them uphill. So it's actually a couple of pieces of equipment. It's not just one and done.
Right.
Now, that said, my answer would depend on kind of how old is the existing. I'm sorry, I say we're not doing that. So, okay, so all the systems not an option other than saying with the grinder. So how old it is still matter. How old is the existing system? If the existing system's 30 years old and you think about adding a grinder pump to that, I probably wouldn't do that personally. I would probably go with a new system. But if it's, 5, 8, 10 years old, I would consider the grinder pump. I'd also consider the distance. There are lots of places like in the hill country, we do grinder pumps pretty frequently. There's some subdivisions they just require it. So so it's not uncommon. But yeah, I mean, it price wise, they're going to be pretty close to the same. A grinder pump may be a little bit less, but with a new system, it's exactly that. It's a brand new system, and it doesn't have the grinder pump because you would obviously be locating it lower down. What I'm assuming is happening, I don't know for sure. So Morgan, feel free to correct me, but what typically in this case, what's happened, there's some type of an existing structure that was out there. Maybe it was a pier and beam house or elevated home or a mobile home. They are built up higher, there's sometimes 2-3 feet in the air. And so the septic system that was originally built for that home didn't have to be buried as low in the ground as one that is a slab on grade. So the existing system's there, but you're dropping the house down a foot or two, which means you don't have enough fall. So you're having to pump the wastewater up to the septic system. Both are options, both function. We do both not infrequently. But to me, it would depend on the age of the existing system. That would kind of be the deal breaker for me. And then where the grinder pump price came in. If the grinder pump price is the same price as the new system, I do a new system.
Okay, makes sense. All right, we've got Isolde Karen. Howdy from Richmond, Texas. Just done with our stakeout. Thanks to Mr. Jerry and Liam. Very exciting.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just met Liam yesterday, actually. That was kind of cool.
Cool. All right, we've got Kim saying, thanks for the info. Very helpful. We were quoted 800 feet for the water well. Does that sound right for Milam County? It
sounds like it'll get it done. It does sound, I don't know, to be specific, Kim. I don't want to say. It sounds like a lot, but if that's what the water well drillers out there are saying is what it takes, that's probably what it takes. What you don't want to do is drill one that kind of maybe gets it done for 5 or 7 years, and then they're back out there. And by the way, when you run out of water, it'll be during a drought. It'll be on a Sunday afternoon when you have 100 people over, and they're not cupping. Okay, they're not going to go out there and drill deep in the well. Then.
Yeah.
So I would encourage getting multiple opinions, bids, but it's not unheard of. It's not unheard of.
Well, is there also potential? Could they be quoting that far as like a just in case?
It's possible.
And that if
it's
they
possible.
find it faster, you might not get charged for that whole amount.
Totally possible. Yep, that's
maybe
totally
something
possible.
to clarify.
Might be worth asking them, Kim. Yeah, it's exactly what Dawn said. Is it if they go to 500 feet, is it X number of dollars per foot to go deeper? That's worth asking. So
yeah, might be quoting worst case scenario.
Okay.
We got Jennifer saying hi from Whitesboro. We're set to close this week.
Oh,
that's awesome!
Awesome.
That's exciting. Send us pictures. I want to see. And then Talon's asking, when using the EasyBuy program with Tilson, will there be any lien or hidden fees?
Oh, great question. So there definitely, we'll get to the hidden fees thing later. There won't be anything hidden. I can tell you that. The EasyBuy program is really just a permanent mortgage. So it works the exact same way it would as if you were walking into either a production subdivision or a used home that's existing in somewhere out there that someone else is selling to you. It's different from a construction loan in that there's no interest accruing, there's no payments during construction, that kind of thing. So it's really just like a regular old mortgage that you don't actually take out and start paying on until after the house is completely finished. That's the big difference between what we do and a construction loan. So you actually eliminate hidden fees by doing the EasyBuy. And yes, because Tilson is in that case, the construction lender, we're providing the financing. There is a builder's and mechanics lien contract with power of sale, and you're going to sign a promise. So you will sign a lien and you will sign a note, just like you would if you were building a custom home with a builder that requires a construction loan. You would still have a lien on the property, and you would still sign probably a deed of trust. You would just do it with the construction lender, not with the builder. In the case of EasyBuy, we are the construction lender. The builder happens to be the construction lender because we're using Tilson's capital. We're using our cash to build your home. So in that case, yes, there will be a lien. And what happens is upon completion of the home, once you've done your walkthrough, you're a happy camper, we've completed any punch out items, you will go to closing at a title company, just like you would if you're buying a home in a subdivision. And what happens is Tilson assigns that lien and that note. We assign it to the lender that funds that provides the funds on your behalf that you're going to have your permanent mortgage with. So if it's Wagon Hill Home Loans, what will happen is at closing, Tilson will assign our lien for the contract amount of the house, for your loan amount. We will assign that to Wagon Hill Home Loans or whoever funds us at closing. So you're not doing multiple liens or anything like that. We just assign it to them. And you'll sign a deed of trust with whoever the lender is. So great question. But yeah, there's nothing scary. It's nothing hidden.
Yeah.
There's no under the table stuff. We don't want your land. I'm sure it's beautiful. Yeah. We have our own.
We want you to have it.
Yeah, we want you to have it.
All right. Angela's saying, howdy from Kima. Building a bear in Blanco this summer. How long does it take to start after we sign the contract?
What's the deal, Dawn?
So we are trying to start as quickly as possible. But on average, it's going to take about 120 to 150 days, just depending upon what's going on with the situation. And it's really how decisive you are, honestly, is what it comes down to. So what we're doing during that upfront time before we start construction is we're finalizing all of your plans. We're picking your color selections. Our land prep team is meeting with you out on your property and helping you lay everything out, figure out what needs to be done to the property. So the quicker all of that stuff gets done, the quicker utilities get in, the faster you can approve your plans and pick everything out and don't make any changes, the faster we can get started. Is really what it comes down to. So it's going to come down to how quickly and decisively you can make decisions. But yeah, and we've seen them go as fast as 90 days. So it's just really down to how quickly everything can get done and get you started. Julie is asking, are there any discounts on building 2 homes? We're looking to build our main house and also a smaller guest home at the same time on our 10 acres.
So what we have, Julie, in a situation like that is what's called a repeat customer discount. So in a case like that, we could probably work the repeat customer discount in because you're technically repeat, you're doing it. But there's not really a lot of cost savings, to be honest. And the reason being, we're still going to have to do, if it's 2 different houses, we're still doing 2 engineer foundation designs. We're still the framer, it takes the same amount of lumber, whether or not they were right next door to each other or 15 miles apart. It takes the same amount of man hours to build it, right? We're still going to do purchase orders for, there's still 2 sets of cabinets. There's still 2 sets of, you're probably not going to have all the same colors. So there's not a lot of economies of scale for doing it next door. But as a courtesy and gesture of good faith, we'd probably do the repeat customer discount. So we can handle that.
Okay.
Well, that makes sense.
All right, we've got Darren saying hello, closing on an Angelina B in Henderson County. Everything's gone pretty smooth so far.
Very cool.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Morgan, who was asking about the septic system, saying, yes, that's an old mobile home. Septic is about 5 years old. Grinder pump is only about $1,000 cheaper. I'm thinking new system is likely the better option.
I'd probably go that route, Morgan. I'm guessing the home you're building, it could be wrong, but the home you're building may be even a little bit bigger than the mobile home. So something else to think about as well. But yeah, I'd probably lean that direction if they were that close in cost.
Okay. And Darren is sharing that he is closing in April. So awesome.
Oh, very cool.
Very cool. It's almost April. Unbelievably, it's almost April.
We're a week away.
Rob is saying we have a 2-year-old septic system. When we build the new home, it will be uphill. Is it better to relocate the septic tank or just put it in a new one?
So relocating it is not going to be very cost effective. So going back to the exact same situation that Morgan's in, your options are going to be a grinder pump or putting in a new system. 2-year-old, man, I would really consider. The new home, when we build a new home, it will be uphill.
It will be uphill.
If the septic system is
uphill,
then you will need a grinder pump. If the new home is uphill, you're gonna be fine. So clarify it for us, but my opinion remains. So.
Okay. Jose's asking, can you build off plans from another designer? Where else is a good place to look for plans? So yeah, we can build based off of whatever inspiration you bring into us. If you do find a plan and you happen to like it exactly like it is, and it is from someplace that sells plans, you are welcome to buy them. If you want to change things, I would say don't buy them. Because our team's not going to charge you anything to rework any of our floor plans. So if you just are like, hey, I like where this pantry is located, or I like how this is laid out, and I'm absolutely in love 100% with its entire house, bring that in and let our team kind of work with you on it. Because what they're going to do, just for pricing, just to be totally upfront, if you bring in plans from somewhere else, they're going to pull out the floor plan that we have that's closest to it and start drawing all over that and pricing based off of our own plan, just because that's how they're equipped to do pricing. So they're going to figure out exactly what the ballpark price is going to be doing it that way. So if it's something of like, hey, I just like the layout of this kitchen, just bring us the printout that you have. But I know you were saying you're coming in soon to meet with somebody. I would bring the must-have list of, this is what I really want in my house. This is where I want my utility room to be. This is where I want my pantry to be. And I think you said you were working with Danny. Let Danny kind of guide you through and find the plan that works for you before you start investing a lot of time in searching, time and or money in searching somewhere else. Because we can do just about anything. All right. Crystal's saying we own our own HVAC company and we would like to do all of the HVAC needs in our home. Is that possible if we build with Tilson?
It is possible. So that is one that we take obviously we take all of it very seriously. But HVAC is a touchy one, Crystal. You probably know this. Hunting the company is that humidity is a real thing. So we'd want to know kind of where in the state that you're building and what y'all are accustomed to doing. So the code does vary from place to place a little bit. Energy zone 2 or 3 or climate zone 2 or 3. Sorry. And we want to be sure that we're not going to have some kind of a moisture issue in the attic. So we do have a particular way that we go about, ordering the manual J, what type of equipment that we're using, what type of insulation we're using, what type of windows, square footage of glazing, all that kind of good stuff that goes into that, just to ensure that we don't have a science experiment going on in your attic mainly, and that your family is comfortable. So we can certainly sit down and talk about it, but it is one that we are very meticulous about. Obviously, the licensing and insurance and all that's required by law, that will have to be in place for sure. But then we'd want to at least sit down with you and be very transparent about how we build the home and what we do for fresh air intake and dehumidifiers and dryer vents and exhaust fans, all that kind of stuff, because all that's part of the HVAC contract. And so we just want to be real careful in making sure that you and your family are comfortable, and that we don't create some kind of further issue further down the road in your attic. But yes, we can certainly talk about it.
Okay, awesome. And Rob is clarifying that it's the septic system that's going to be uphill.
Yeah, so I would price out. I would get bids for a grinder pump, Rob. So it's the exact same thing Morgan did. His ended up being like only $1,000 less to do a grinder pump. Depending on where you are, it could be a bigger delta, in which case it's worth considering. But yeah, that's the next step, would be to get bids on a grinder pump.
Okay, awesome. And then we've got Eric saying greetings from Beaumont. Hey,
What's
Eric.
up, Eric?
All right. And then we've got Austin asking, if we add the cathedral ceiling extended back porch on the canyon, can we do French doors or sliding doors instead of windows that lead out? Is it cheaper than windows?
So you could definitely do either one of those leading out, no problem. And no, the windows are definitely going to be less expensive than any type of door, whether it's a sliding door or French swinging doors. Windows are always going to be cheaper. They're less complicated.
Yeah, things that move are more expensive than things that don't. Yeah. Okay, awesome.
Very cool. Y'all keep the questions coming in. We've got a couple others teed up for y'all, but yeah, drop the questions into the chat. Anything you want to know about design, construction, site preparation, mortgages, any of that kind of stuff that's floating around. These are great questions about septic systems. This is really interesting stuff. A lot of existing septics.
Yeah.
Good for y'all for following the rules 2 to 5 years ago. Proud of you.
Awesome. So we did have one question that was sent in ahead of time that someone was asking about, I'm waiting to build my home because of all the talks about tariffs, just lots of stuff happening with the economy right now. How do you think tariffs are going to impact home costs? Okay.
Great question. So some of here's a couple of things about this. Number one, first of all, to set the scene and the stage, we here at Tilson Live make every effort to be as apolitical or politically agnostic as possible. We believe that you come here to get transparent information. So we try very, very hard to be as objective and just economically based as possible to answer these types of questions. So if you will indulge us, we're going to attempt to do this without getting political, because it really is. It's an economic tool. Tariffs are simply an economic tool in the global toolbox. And they are not new, right? They have been around since America's been using them since 1789, to be exact. So we'll get into that a little bit. So this is not, I also will say, and this is my advice to people watching, however you consume your news, wherever you consume it from, the more somebody is telling you that something is a really, really big deal, the more you're hearing about that, the more they have to tell you it's a big deal. It's probably not that big a deal. They're having to tell you it's a big deal so that you believe it's a big deal. I would know. I have teenagers. So that's it's not that different. If something's a big deal and affects you in a great way, you'll know. Trust me. It will affect you. So all that to say, Dawn did an awesome job, a lot of work ahead of time for today's live of pulling some home sales across Texas. Now, what's in here, right, Dawn, is existing used home sales is in here as well.
Yes.
Because that's a big part of the transactions that happen. So This is a blend of new home sales prices average over time and existing home sales prices. Used home sales prices have a lot more fluctuation than new homes. Home people that are doing new home construction, production builders mainly, who make up most of that. We're a rounding error on any of this information at Tilson, but the builders that make up most of it, they can throttle up or down based on buyer temperature. Builders don't have to build houses if they don't want to. You can't force D.R. Horton to go build, 10,000 houses if the economy's not right. They can throttle back, in which case less inventory and used homes will make up more of that average. But what you can see is over time, and this is sad to say out loud, a 34-year period going back to 1990, devastating. You can see the trend line, folks. Like, it doesn't take a PhD in economics to see, historically speaking, home prices go up, aside from pretty major catastrophic economic events, right? We get two that are pretty obvious here. One is the Great Recession, Great Financial Crisis, however it's labeled in history books. And then the other is obviously you got the awkwardly high advance of COVID. This basically, we stole a bunch of sales from, I'm going to call 22 through 25 and pulled them all the way to 2020. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So that's the spike you see here, and that's why you see a bit of a dip. Now, everybody's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to wait for home prices to go down, and that way I'll buy that dip. Ask any financial advisor on planet Earth, is it a wise economic strategy to buy the dip? If they're worth any money at all, the answer is no. It is a no. So there's that. That is bad advice to try and time the dip. The other thing about the dip is usually in these dips, almost without exclusion, your 401k, your retirement account, your existing home value, it follows the same trend line. So for home prices to drop, you need a pretty catastrophic economic event, which is usually going to mean some type of a significant drawback in your own stuff, right? The odds of new home prices dropping, but existing home prices going up or staying the same, there is not a graph out there that supports that information whatsoever. So if the prices go down, if you're trying to sell your home to fund the new home, it's going to go down too. That's economics. That's not political. That's not anything. That's just the way it is. So the baseline is home prices go up over time, which is a good thing, by the way. It's what you want, right? Like, this is what you want. You want your home to be worth more money over time.
You don't want quite the pace that we had during.
We don't need this.
You want the upward line. You don't want a straight up line, but you do want.
But you follow this yellow trend line is fairly safe to follow. And again, for this to come crashing down, it's exactly that. It's a crash. Nobody wants that because no one is left out of that game. So everybody participates in the crash. Next would be talking about tariffs. Okay. Dawn and I have learned more about tariffs in the last week than, certainly more than I did in high school and college. So,
I forgot my econ class, so we had to go re-educate.
Again, the United States has been using tariffs since literally the 1780s, which makes perfect sense, right? So you got the 3 R's of tariffs. They are used to produce revenue for a country. They're used to restrict, right? To protect domestic, like our farmers or our manufacturers in a particular country, and they're used for reciprocity. If you're going to do this to my goods that I export into your country, I'm going to reciprocate and do that to at least a portion of your goods that go into ours. Okay. I'm going to segment this out in 2 portions of time if I can. 1789 to 1913, tariffs were actually to 1930, tariffs were the primary revenue source for the United States of America. That is how there wasn't an income tax till like 1913. There was no such thing as an internal revenue service. That's not true. 1862, so during the Civil War, there was. But broadly speaking, income tax as we know it today, the way we pay our income tax, didn't even exist till 1913, broadly speaking. So from 1789 to 1930, so let's call it 150 years. Our first 140, 150 years we existed, tariffs were how America raised revenue, which makes sense, right? Like, if you're 1794 in Virginia, how are you going to tax? Like, there's no 1099. Okay, there's no 1040 EZ that you're turning in, right? Like, you didn't even know how many people you had. You didn't really have a good way to, like, there was no real good reporting system. So the idea of trying to generate revenue in some way from some obscure place in Washington, D.C., reaching all the way out to, the territories or whatever, it was just, there was no way to do that. Plus, there weren't that many people.
Well, and if you tried to tax their stuff, they threw the tea in the bag.
That's right. Yeah, we were pretty fresh off the scene of we kind of revolted because of taxes. So the new government knew well and good, like, yeah, so we're going to figure out a different way to raise money, because the whole tax thing turns out is very unpopular with our constituents. So that was that. All right. So we didn't start, and that really through 1930 and really through World War II. So post World War II, 1945 to now, as we know it, the Internal Revenue Service, so income tax on us, on you, me, has shifted to be the primary way that we raise money, and tariffs has taken a far back seat. What you're hearing now is so the big thing is there's nothing new under the sun. Okay, the tariffs are not new. The way they're being used is maybe more unconventional than we are used to in the past, but also our memories are very short. Like, you'll read a headline that says tariffs haven't been used in this way since before World War II. Like, well, that's less than half of how old our country is. It's really not that long ago. Okay.
Yeah.
But so now you got this restriction of reciprocity. Best I can tell you is what appears to be happening, the closer we get to this April 2nd, Liberation Day, D-Day of all these tariffs taking effect, is they appear to be being used as just negotiation tools. So they're not, the current administration is not even using them. He's not using them for revenue restriction or reciprocity necessarily. They appear to be being used based on how other countries are responding as simply like, hey, you want access to the U.S. consumer? We are the biggest consumers on the face of the earth. We're going to charge you a price of admission to play this game. If you want access to our consumers in the United States, we're going to charge you for that access. That could be in the form of a tariff, or you can avoid that tariff and you can come open up shop over here. If you can meet 70% of the manufacturing of your little widget, we'll waive the tariff. And it's happening like literally as we speak. But today you had both Hyundai and India. Hyundai said they're going to open up shop and make a steel plant in Louisiana, and India said they're going to reduce their tariffs on America. So this reciprocity one conceivably down to zero. So we don't even know which ones are going to go into effect, if any of them are going to go into effect, because I don't genuinely believe they're trying to do this to make money, to replace the income tax. I'm open to it. I'm open to the idea. But all that to say, it's in the news a lot because it's unconventional, or at least in recent history. It is not unconventional as far as the United States history is concerned, or certainly world history. So all that to say, how tariffs affect prices? Initially, they're going to go up. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you take anything and you add 5, 10, 15% onto it for it to come through a port or across a border on a truck, the Customs Border Patrol is going to collect, that anything plus 10% is going to equal 110%. That's just the way it is. And businesses are not going to just eat that. So there will be initial, flat out, the prices can and probably will go up. Again, if the tariffs actually get implemented. Some will, most will not. It's a lot of saber rattling back and forth. It's a lot of posturing. But most importantly, and we'll end it with this, I don't subscribe to everything that Dave Ramsey teaches. He has a lot of really good principles, but this one I definitely subscribe to, and that is what happens in your house is a whole lot more important than what happens in the White House. And all that to say that, like, take care of your own finances. Don't spend more than you make. Don't go out and if you're considering building a new home, maybe pass on the new, Super Duty Platinum Ford pickup. Maybe pass on the condo, or second home in Fort Lauderdale.
Maybe don't buy all new furniture until
maybe don't buy new furniture. Maybe don't max out your credit cards. Maybe don't do things that will jeopardize your job. Work hard, work overtime. But what happens in your house is way more important than what happens in the White House. Do not get distracted with clickbait and news headlines, because again, the more they tell you how important something is, there's probably something else actually important going on that they're not telling you about. So that's what you should probably be paying attention to. Read more, educate yourself, and that's that.
All right. Awesome.
Oh, and obviously listen to us, clearly.
Yeah. Let's see. We got Amy. She says she's late. Blame work. Always getting in the way of my home building dreams. Well, now you can tell work you had an economics lesson.
The audacity. Yeah.
It was worth
continuing education.
Yeah. We got Alicia saying, when will you be doing another design center video? Oh, we haven't done one of those in a while. We should.
Oh.
What do you want to see, Alicia? And we can get it scheduled. What are you interested in looking at? I'm assuming that you're talking about the ones where we like show the cabinet samples and that kind of stuff. But yeah, we can think about doing that. We've got a couple of new color rooms that we can show off.
Yeah.
Amy's asking, does Wagon Hill offer anything like one-time free close for refinancing if rates drop? Say
in 1 to 2 years.
1 to 2 years. Okay.
So the answer is not that I'm aware of. No, I don't know of any mortgage company that's offering a. Now, what there is especially on a one-time close, you lock in a ceiling rate. So I'll get to our EasyBuy in a second. But on a one-time close product that we actually do offer, they lock you in on the highest rate could possibly be. But if the rates do float down during construction, and that 10 months or so that you're under construction, you would get the lower rate. That's one. And then that's automatically going to happen with EasyBuy. So with EasyBuy, we lock you in on the price up front that we don't actually get paid for. You don't close on the loan until the house is completely finished. So let's say that according to, they did nothing with the rate, week before last week. But they hinted that they may have 2 drops this year, whatever that means. If you go ahead and sign a contract with Tilson Homes, start construction, and get that 10-month process or so underway, you're not closing until the house is finished anyway. Whatever rates due in the next 10, 12 months, that's the rate you're going to get. So it's I don't have anybody's bingo card that I've seen that rates are going to go up. I don't think anybody's anticipating that. So you're pretty safe that the rates are going to go down from here on out for a little bit anyway.
Okay. All right. Jason is asking, what is the typical time frame from when the foundation is poured to when the next step starts?
Great question, Jason. It could be, we've had it as quick as 2 days. We've had it as long as a couple of weeks. It really depends more on what the superintendent's framer's schedule is. So, they've got some guys that they like to hand select to do the work. And in a lot of cases, it's really more dependent on their schedule. But there's nothing wrong with them coming out literally the next day and start framing. Forget everything you've ever read about the concrete has to cure for 28 days before you can get on it. Not true. It is going to cure for 28 days, but it will support human weight and the skeletal weight of the frame of a home long before they're finished with the skeletal frame of a home.
All right. Awesome. We've got Will from Klondike checking in. Hope y'all are doing well. Been busy getting garden redone and prepping to get planted. The ducks have a new building pond and run. Awesome.
That's fun. Yeah, I have geese have taken up residency in my pond, and I'm not sure I'm a fan just yet. Like they weren't invited, they weren't purchased, they were not. They're Canadian refugees, best I can tell, and they have taken up residency in my pond. They're very loud. And they do not get.
Are there any babies? Because they get really mean.
They seem to leave frequently enough where I don't think there's a nest, and we're hoping that I kind of use my dog and my mule to kind of shoo them away as best I can, and because my neighbor has a pond, and maybe they'll go to his place. It's very attractive over there. It's lovely.
Yeah,
very geese worthy.
Oh, I hope so, because they can get pretty confrontational. They ain't scared. They ain't scared.
We're down with that.
I've had them come after several cars. All right. We've got Cassie saying, hi, currently building in Colorado County. The process has been going well. Excited to wrap up in the coming months. 2 questions. One, when the building is complete, will we get a list of the subcontractors used? Can we, if we ask, just would like to know in case we have issues and want to use them in the future for questions, concerns, updates, servicing if needed. I do know you all have the warranty department, but just curious outside of that. So that's the first question.
That's a great question. So in a lot of cases, their information's on some of the equipment, like HVAC. In many cases, it's actually on the equipment. it's still going to be always better. The answer, broadly speaking, the answer is no, and there's a why to that. We don't give a list of our subcontractors and that information because we tell them in their subcontracts that we won't. Many of them do work for builders only. They don't do work for individuals, although some do. And also in a lot of these cases, because they're independent contractors, their address and all that kind of information, it's where they live.
Right.
And so, they have kids there, they got their wives there. And so we're very protective of their information. A, because we tell them that we're going to be, but B, more importantly, because in many cases it is that's not necessarily true of like your plumbers, your electricians, HVAC contractors. And on those, if something does go wrong with those, it will be them that goes out there ultimately. But we still want you to come through us because we want to have a record, of if we're having a trend of issues, we want to know about it. And then B, we have a lot more leverage with them than perhaps the individual does. And I know that doesn't sound real warm and fuzzy, but we do many, many homes a year with them. And so they're usually we can do a more effective job of getting their attention than perhaps an individual can. So, but if there's anything, we can't stop you from asking them anything. Okay. What we also are is we're not responsible for anything that they may do. And I'm sure you already know this, but I have to say it out loud. Anything they do that's outside the scope of our work, outside that's our contract. So for example, if we have a mason out there and he's putting, full stone face on your fireplace in your family room or on your back porch, you love it, you think it's fantastic, you end up having a conversation with him and you want him to build you like a fire ring in your backyard, outside of the contract of us, and he builds that fire ring and you absolutely hate it and have a big disagreement, we can't help you. Right. Because it's not part of our contract. So that's really the biggest reason. And so we don't have just a set list. We deliberately tell in our contracts, we will not give you a list of them. But again, it's mainly to protect their privacy than anything else.
All right. And her second question is, I know Wagon Hill is the preferred lender. Do you know if they ever run closing incentives? If so, what have you seen come from them? I know everything will be dependent on what they have at the relevant time, but curious if that's something you've seen in the past.
Yeah. So right now they're not running any incentives. So most builders that you're seeing doing that are production subdivision builders that have inventory on the ground, and they're doing that with their partner lenders because they're paying for those homes. Those homes are sitting there and they're not selling in some cases. So they're incentivizing buyers to come in and do that. But right now, we believe that, rates, broadly speaking, especially in the next year or two, are going to go down. And so we're not currently running any incentives. We're trying our best to keep the fees low and the rate as competitive as possible. And to do that, you can't to run incentives. You have to charge for them. That's all there is to it.
Right.
There's not that much money in mortgages, quite frankly. In fact, there's very little money in mortgages. If there were more money in it, I'd rather do mortgages than build houses. That's not true, but it would be fun. It's a lot less headache. It's a lot faster. So all that to say that there's not really a reason for them. We would much rather keep the fees low and the rates competitive, as opposed to for run incentives, you have to raise one of those other two. You have to either charge a little bit higher rate or you have to charge higher fees to offset the cost of those. Okay.
All right. We've got Tim saying, love the economics lesson today. You both are a sharp pair. Tilson Tuesday never disappoints.
Oh, thanks, Tim. That's awesome.
We got Jen saying, howdy from the Lone Star model and the ranch location. Hey, Jen. Jason says that Dave Ramsey also told him not to buy a new bass boat. Yeah,
like I said, I don't agree with everything Dave Ramsey says.
Well, at least not till you finish your house, Jason.
And actually, Jason, I'll tell you, don't ever buy a new boat. There's somebody
will be tired of their boat. Yeah,
who's looking to get rid of their boat.
Somebody who bought a boat didn't want a boat.
You can get a new to you boat for a lot less money after your house is finished.
Yes, after the house is finished. All right. Cassie's saying, sorry, third question now that I'm thinking about it. We're currently having tile done as we speak. Vinyl plank is scheduled for next week. How long is typically left for our build? We may want to shop the market for financing. So I'm curious what's left for timing after cabinets, counters, painting, tile, and then flooring will all be installed.
You're probably cabinets. I like to try, and I'm going to avoid countertops, painting, and all that. But cabinets, we're looking to be about 60 days out from completion. So if you're looking to do anything with financing, you need to do that really, really, really quick, because there is a lot of documentation. If you choose to go with a different lender, they're going to require all that documentation all over again. and that's normal. That's okay. They're not doing anything wrong, but
Mhm.
because they've never encountered you before, they haven't done the appraisal yet, they haven't pulled your credit, all that kind of good stuff. They would do all that, and in many cases, they won't just accept the paperwork that other mortgage. They have their own underwriters, they have their own insurance protocols and compliance. They're going to want to start all over again. So do stay in touch with your closer if you've heard from one. So either like Erica or well, any of our closers, Amanda or Laurie or Michelle, one of those that can help you through that, but make them aware immediately that you're considering doing this, and your building superintendent, because it's not just we'll go to Target instead of Lowe's. It's not that simple.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And then Alicia, who was asking for the design center video, saying she's just looking to see what's new. So,
Okay.
We'll figure it out. Amy is saying, yes, EasyBuy was one of the big reasons we went with y'all. We have the final design appointment this Thursday, so probably closing in November, December timeframe. Thanks.
Oh, that's awesome, Amy. Thanks for sharing.
Awesome. All right. We've got Yashika Fuselier.
Fuselier.
Sorry. When are the new plans going to be released for the Woodlands? I think that's what you called it last time. We're looking at the Brazoria, but could be swayed to that one. So sometime next quarter is what I've been told on the Woodlands. So it's going to come down to like I was talking about, they go through all of the counties and figure out exactly how much it's going to cost to build. And all of those locations, our drafters have to draw the plans for the specific requirements of each county. So as soon as they get through that, we will launch the Woodlands. So I'm going to say sometime, probably May, June is what I would expect. But it looks a lot like the San Jacinto. So if you want to take that in the Brazoria, you can kind of figure out what you want to do.
Actually, you can literally stand between those two houses in Spring.
Yeah, if you go to Spring, you can just stand between them, and they can tell you everything you can do. All right. Then we've got Anthony asking on the land survey, what type of land survey is required prior to the build?
Awesome question. Okay, so we're going to assume starting with we're not in a floodplain. Let's start there. So not in a floodplain. I would recommend a boundary survey with corner pins located and all easements shown. So those are all very standard industry speak. So a boundary survey with corner pins located and all easements shown. And then if you are also in a floodplain or any portion of the property is in a floodplain, okay, back up a little bit. If it's smaller than say 5 or 6 acres and you're in a floodplain, if you're on 10, 20, 50, 200 acres, and one corner of it's in the floodplain, not worried about that. 5 acres or less, I would ask for a benchmark, an elevation certificate with a benchmark and a natural ground elevation. So what they're basically going to do is they'll research the registered professional land surveyor is going to research the FEMA maps. They're going to find out where, is it zone A, is it zone AE, where the floodplain crosses the land. They will actually literally physically go put a benchmark. So usually it's a nail in a tree. It's a nail in the center of a road. It's a nail or spike in a power pole, telephone pole. One day they won't be telephone poles anymore, will there? Anyway, power pole.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so they'll do that, and then they'll actually put on this elevation certificate the highest adjacent grade, lowest adjacent grade, the exact FEMA map that they used. It's a promulgated form, which means it's a form that they all use. It's regulated by, I think, HUD, Housing Urban Development, or FEMA. I think it's FEMA. I'm sorry, Federal Emergency Management. And so, but anyway, elevation certificate with benchmark and natural ground elevation. Survey would just be boundary survey, corner pins located, all easements shown.
Okay, awesome. All right. Will says he's going to send pics, and he agrees that geese can be mean and territorial. So.
I ain't worried. My mule is pretty territorial. There's going to be quite the standoff between the geese and the mule, and he goes about 400. He's a mini mule, but he's fierce.
All right.
He's not friendly.
Cassie says, thank you guys for all the info. Super helpful.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for asking.
And then Jessica's saying our home in Granbury just closed this month and we are loving it. We just met one of our neighbors, and it turns out they also have a Tilson home, which was built about 20 years ago, and they have no complaints. Such a testament to Tilson, made me feel even better about our beautiful home. Oh, awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Jason's asking, this may be a Wagon Hill question, but where will we close?
That is a wonderful question, and not necessarily Wagon Hill. So many times it's at a local title company. So maybe in Lufkin, or, if there's a title company close to where you are, And there are occasions, not infrequently, actually, it became very popular during COVID, was a mobile notary. So actually, we can close mobile. We can send someone to wherever you are going to be, and actually close mobilely. You don't have to do it at a title company necessarily. I kind of prefer the title company thing just because you've got questions. They got a lot more resources to explain there. But so it can either be kind of there in Lufkin somewhere, or close to where you are, or mobile.
Okay, awesome. Denise is asking, do you know, since we bought the title policy when we purchased the land, will we need a new one?
Great news. Okay, so it used to, I don't know if this is still the case, it used to come down to timing, Denise. So usually if the title policy was 12 months old or less, in any case, there's going to be a delta, right? Because basically the title policy, the mortgage company is going to require that you have a mortgagee's policy, an owner's policy. So, and it's going to be for a higher dollar amount, right? So because the land is worth, let's say the land is worth $100,000, the house is worth $450,000. So now we're talking about a $550,000 insurance policy instead of a $100,000 insurance policy. So it's going to cost more. But historically, if it was 12 months or less, in some cases, even outside of that, they would give you credit for the land title policy, if that makes sense. So let's say the new title policy was going to be $2,500 and the land policy was $1,000. You'd get $1,000 credit for that one because you're basically surrendering that title policy. You don't need it anymore. So you would just owe the delta. But that's specific to the title companies now. It's really at their discretion. Great question.
Okay. All right. And then Crystal's saying, I may have missed this being answered already, but we currently live on the property and we'd be building in a different location on the same property. Would we need to deed out the plot of land that the new home would be built on so that we can still live on the property while the new home is being built?
Not necessarily. So if you're, and what I don't know is if you intend on keeping the structure that you're in now. In some cases, it's a mobile home and the customer has no desire to keep it. They intend to move it off the property. And so in which case we just make sure that's converted to personal property instead of real property, and it can be removed actually after you move into the home. Usually we give you about 2 weeks to do that, to basically move into your new Tilson home and then get the mobile home moved off, because a lot of mortgage companies won't close with 2 single family residences on one piece of collateral property, which gets to the other part of the question. If you intend to keep that existing structure, then there are some programs, not very many, but there are a few programs where that's possible. It's very rare because most conventional loans and even FHA, they won't allow more than 2 single family residences on one piece of collateral property, in which case it is possible, it's feasible to do exactly what you've said, which is survey out a portion you're going to build a new home on, as long as it still has to have access, to a public road of some way. It has to have access to water. So you can't landlock it. Okay. And we can help you walk through that process with a surveyor and the county, and they may require a replat. All that comes into play. On rare occasions, if an appraisal will support it, you can keep both structures depending on the loan program. But you start to, that Venn diagram starts to get a pretty small overlap with new 2,500, 3,000 square foot homes that have an existing 1,800, 1,200 square foot house on the same property within 15, 20 miles of where you're building, particularly if it's rural. So you can see where it could be a struggle on an appraisal, making that work out. So it really does depend on your exact location and the exact loan program. All
right. And then Will is saying, y'all are in great hands with Tilson. Y'all have a blessed and safe week. Oh, thank you, Will.
That is awesome. Thank you, Will.
That's
and
awesome.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Last call for questions. We are exactly an hour. Very impressive, Dawn, as usual. Very impressed with how you coach all of our internet watchers to do this perfectly. So anyway, yeah, folks, obviously keep your questions coming if you want, but the journey doesn't have to end here, right? We are accessible on many, many mediums. So we have a Facebook page, obviously. We have a YouTube channel. Obviously, you're on that. We also have an Instagram page. We have a website open 24/7. That's Tilson's Front Porch. We got new home specialists there on standby to answer your high-level questions and help you get appointments scheduled in one of our 12 design centers that are open 7 days a week with models to show you, design center, color room selections to show you right there on site. We don't send you to some random design center that you've never met anybody at.
Or worse, 3 different locations.
Or worse, yeah, all over, yeah, the west side of town looking for floors and cabinets that they don't have the samples of each other and all that kind of stuff. It's all in-house right there where you're going to be talking to your consultant, doing your design. And what else do we have?
We've got 2 in-person seminars this weekend. Both the Brian office and the Melissa office are going to be talking about land prep. So if you had questions about that, those are great places to go and sit with other people who are going through the same thing. And we typically have seminars at our locations, every weekend. We also have a special one coming up if you are in the Fredericksburg area. We do have a Muddy Boots open house, which is a kind of behind the sheetrock event in a actual customer's home. So you can see everything that's behind the walls out there at that customer's home. So that's a good thing to go ahead and sign up for if you're out there and interested in that. And that's going to be April 5th.
Very cool experiences. Very cool experiences. So again, folks, the journey doesn't end here. We are easy to get a hold of. We want you to have all this information. The best customers we have and the happy customers we have are the most informed customers. The ones that they're vulnerable, they'll listen, they're coachable, and they ask lots of questions and want to know why. And because we're real good about doing that. We are the only builder I know of still that will do something like this ungated. We don't restrict this in any way. None of you had to give us your email addresses to watch this. You don't have to sign up for a webinar or any other garbage. Like, we're here to help you with this process and make you as comfortable as possible and secure as possible with what goes on here. So with that, I think we had some thankful people. We had Jason and Crystal that were grateful.
We did. Yeah, Jason's saying thanks, guys, always informative. And Crystal's saying thank you both for the wealth of knowledge. Oh, thank you, Crystal.
Yes, thank you, Dawn, for your wealth of knowledge. So we're super grateful. But anyway, guys, we go look at one of the go to the website, go to one of our design centers, go to our YouTube channel and binge on some of this content. Every single one of these are there from the past, all of our customer testimonials, all of our customer home tours, our why we build the house, why we build them, our construction videos are on there. So we hope that you find these informative, and we genuinely soon hope to make you part of the Tilson family. We'll see y'all next week.
Bye, everybody.